Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus, and as usual with me is my colleague.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon, good evening. My timing is wrong. It's after 6. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus, and we are happy to be here this afternoon. Jen, how are you going?
I am going good, Terry-Ann. Well, you know, we're celebrating. So this whole week, the Emancipation Village has opened. And as you know, Friday is the Emancipation celebration, Trinidad and Tobago. So we thought this show, let's celebrate emancipation.
Definitely.
So I'm doing good.
Definitely. You know, one of the beautiful things about Trinidad and Tobago is our multifaceted population. And of course, the base populations would be the Indo and then the Africans. And it is really a good time always to celebrate African emancipation. And there's a lot that is going on. One of the things I like about this year's celebration is that, and this may be a little bit controversial, I'm seeing a lot of non-cultural activities. So I love how the National Trust has a range of activities that are focused on emancipation, focusing on youth with educating people through spoken word. There are many pan concerts and stuff like that. And I think it's interesting. It's not centered on the Emancipation Village, which is in Port of Spain in the Savannah, which is focused on a certain direction. You know?
Yeah, they started some years ago because actually they do have annually every emancipation period or just prior to the competition in the schools, you know. So they do several things outside of the actual going to the village to some of the shows and having the entrepreneurs, you know, sell their goods, etc. So yeah.
Nice. So what we talking about today, Jennifer?
You know, I was thinking, Terry-Ann, you know, the last couple of years when we had shows, we were able to really have guests coming in, especially successful, you know, enterprising Black businessmen or businesswomen would come on. I just thought, you know, I would like Terry-Ann. I find there's, you know, a lot of talk going around. I feel at this stage, I would like to chat about what's happening within our Black community. You know, and I say what's happening because I believe that we could look at moving on I get the feeling sometimes that we feel stuck and are not seeing enough. This is me, sort of innovation to move forward more in terms of how we think and certain way we act. I don't know. So I just want to share my views on that. To looking at more growth. I will say increase in your I would say quality life, because you hear this time not just the economy and things have changed so much that I would like us to look down the road as a very positive future.
Okay.
So basically, I like to chat on that.
Let's get into the tribe and let's talk about our African tribe from the Connections 5.8 GLI viewpoint.
Yes, Sarian. For me, I call it. I would like to say, like, let's look at a new journey. And I say new journey, a positive one where we are moving forward. And I'm saying we, and I am talking about, let me basically say a Black journey. We're talking about emancipation here. So we are looking at a Black journey. And I would say a Black journey without the blinkers. And I'm saying without the blinkers, and I use the term blinkers, meaning without being looking at all the negatives. And there are a lot. And this is how I feel that I think I reached this stage I've experienced, of course, for all my years of when emancipation started, celebrating emancipation, hearing all the speakers and listening, and there have been some improvement as we go along. But I still find there have been, for me, there's an underlying sort of negativity about why we as Blacks not where we should be in some cases, right? And I thought about that. And I'm thinking that it's not so for many of us, but the when you hear the talk, I find it's more about on the negative than the positive. I find enough more should be done. Let me put it that way. More should be done to highlight all the positives that is happening and has happened. And I think by highlighting all the positives, it will help motivate us, propel us forward. Let me say it like that. Yeah.
If I were to ask you, who should do this promotion?
I looking at self, actually. I think too, and this is how the thing, Karian. I think if we moving forward, if we are to move forward, I think we as individuals, as a family, have an agenda for ourselves. I think we should not depend, I won't say solely, but too much on waiting on, let's say, the Emancipation Committee or the Black Agenda, all those different groups that trying, and or the government. We should really now, take responsibility for us as a Black family, as a Black individual. Take responsibility and do things to move forward. So yeah, us, me, and others.
I think that is the biggest challenge. I think.
Yeah, but we moving forward differently, right? As I said, are removing blinkers, are going bold.
And what
And
are
saying
those
it bold.
blinkers? What are those
Huh?
blinkers? What are those blinkers?
When I say blinkers, Sarian, I am going a lot by I like to listen to people, Terry, and I would read a lot. I think I have a good sense and feel of what is happening out there, right? And I know around this time, that's why when we celebrate Emancipation or any of the other, festivals, you focus on that particular aspect. So yeah, so we celebrating emancipation. So of course, a lot of the talks, the celebration, the different um, shows, it's about the blacks and how we moving forward, and about the where we have reached out. But as I said before, you have this underlying negativity. You still have up to this day, and this is why I say I want to talk about that. You still have this talk about, oh gosh, the reason that black people can't run business, the black youths only in crime, the black people can't move forward because they're being kept back. And it's that kind of negative rhetoric. Now, of course, we just came out of an election, and you find, you talk that, okay, it's only black people being losing their jobs, and that sort of talk. And because of that, a lot of the negatives. I think people starting to well, I get any sense that many starting to lose hope instead of looking at opportunities and looking at ways to come together and move forward. And not maybe it's happening. I'm sure it's happening in many circles, but it's not coming out. It's not being highlighted. It's not being talked about. What I'm hearing more of is the negatives. So what I want to hear more of is the positives, and I think that will push us into the direction we would like to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a much more positive take. I have a much more positive take. I don't think anything is more or less negative, but I think there is a lot of positives, because the negatives that you speak about have been proposed and pushed out there for time immemorial. That Afro can't do this, Afro can't do that, Afro can't do the other.
Right.
We have always shown and proven that it is utterly wrong. Utterly, utterly wrong. Because for every can't, you can put down a list, and a comprehensive list of coulds. And I want to start first with this notion of Afros are not business minded. And that is a falsehood. And anyone who continues to make that statement pushing propaganda, I'm going to say that unequivocally. History is that we had typically after, and I often say, well, I think in about 2 shows I have been saying I have a problem with emancipation being focused on the motherland as opposed to dealing with the issue of colonialism, which is where the problem is. It has nothing to do with Africa, because a lot of our strengths come out of our African heritage, which has survived the absolute terror that is colonialism, which tried to strip everything. So to the extent that we have, once we achieved independence, even going into crown colony government and achieving independence, and you're looking at where after emancipation the emancipated slaves went to through apprenticeship. You had your small farmers, your tradesmen, and so on. And then when the civil service worked up, they went largely into the civil service because they were done with this, anything associated with slavery and whatever it is. Trades were the purview of the white class. They were the traders. So you while you don't have a long heritage of big business, if you want to say conglomerates and you want to say those huge things, it is incorrect to say that Afro-Trinbagonians are not good at business because they represent a significant part of small businesses. They represent a significant part of trades. If we look at the even in terms of entrepreneurship, they're there. Now, if we want to look and say proportionality, if you want to say proportionality, you look at the business class and you want to say, all right, what percent of business is owned by Indos, by Arabs, by Chinese, by what are the other major groups? Anglos, the whites. Yes, we'd have a smaller share. But I think before we go to put a whole X mark on a race and have things appear that your DNA is not structured in that way, we have to look at how business is developed and what are the factors that may have promoted, supported, or not promoted or not supported Afros being in business. And I think if we do that analysis, we will have a much, much better appreciation and show a whole lot more, have a lot more respect and admiration for those that continue in business. You know, for myself, I looked at summaries of the recent trade and investment in the Center of Excellence. And number of entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, young people that were there. Yes, you had lots of Black entrepreneurs. You have Black big businessmen. You have Blacks in all professions, all trades. So I think that the narrative that you talk about is a narrative that probably is being proposed by some quarter for their own means. And I think if we look around us, if we just go walk down to the malls, walk through the malls, look at the innovation in food, in restaurants, look at the innovations in entertainment, look at our manufacturers and see we are losing our manufacturing class. We're not losing Black manufacturers, manufacturing, and people are preferring to import and trade. You have some huge legacy importers that are typically of the former ruling planter class who have massive distributions and so on. But if you look at where the trade is now, if you look at where, if you want to buy services, you want catering, you want a lawyer, you want a doctor, you want a dentist, you want a designer, you want a dressmaker, you want a tailor, you go on Instagram and Facebook and you will see the range of services that are being offered by Black entrepreneurs who continue to support themselves and their families well. I'm not saying that we are overwhelmingly represented in the business class. We never will. We never will. I think it's only in Africa you have that going on. If you look at any metropole, because of how history has stacked things up, yes, you won't find the majority of business owners being Afro, but I am not accepting and I'm utterly rejecting any notion that Afro-Trinbagonians are not good at business. That's not the case. And the evidence for that is there. It's absolutely there.
So, Tarian, while I'm agreeing with you on that, there is still, fortunately, and I hope there are many more like you, which is what I would like to see happen, many more people like yourself who appreciate, who sees, who fact-checked and doing fact checks and really, could point out all the successes that's happening. But let me tell you, and I am, as I said, I'm speaking from being out here listening. I would love, and this is what I have found that, and I've said before, it would be nice moving forward. I'm moving forward, right? So as I said, the without blinkers. So what I refer to is all the negatives still in the air. It's still there. It's still there. By now it shouldn't, but it's still there. So I would really love to see and hear more of the positives being highlighted. So at some time soon, we would not even be thinking, there won't be anybody thinking like that, or less people will be thinking like that. So, in moving forward, one of the things I am saying, and that it is up to us, we as individuals, you as an individual, understand you clearly don't buy into all the negatives that's going on, and you are seeing positives, and you know as a Black woman you are very successful and you have no issue with your identity moving forward. But Terry-Ann, there are still, and this is what I'm saying, it's an individual thing, there are still in my view too many still Blacks who don't seem to appreciate the culture, to appreciate all the successes of others, and not and more sitting back and not doing the things that could propel the because if we do things as individuals and as families, is the whole community you're helping to build. And I feel to me, we should look at moving forward in a different mindset, and start with who we are, what we want, what's our agenda, and take responsibility and move forward from there by spreading the word, spreading the
I
positive
suppose
word.
my difficulty with that, I always go down in the weeds and look for,
Yeah,
I always
that's
go in the
right.
weeds and look for facts that support the case, because let's look at any field. Call a field. Tell me a field of endeavor um where we are not supporting our own. Where
Okay.
are we not supported?
Before I answer you, let me make it quite clear that I am a very positive Black woman, believe in successes and aware of all these successes. So my role always on a very positive one, especially when it comes to my Blackness and Black culture, etc. So when I'm highlighting what I see as a negative, please note it's not my view. I am highlighting what I sense from outside here. Okay. So to answer your question as to the view, okay. So when you ask like what, and I don't want to use profession, maybe let me use where the negative comes with in in service, more in the service. And I am thinking of maybe where I'm hearing the negative, right? So you already highlighted the small business. We have many, from what I observed, many Black entrepreneurs outside. They're really working hard and doing great. But on the other side, there's still the thinking, from what I'm hearing, I'm going by what is there on the ground. So I'm dealing with what is being said on the ground, or the notion that is given off. Is that yes, there are many Black entrepreneurs, but I go back to the talk about they are not lasting long in terms of when they start a business, and they are not is not sustainable for them, because they started with nothing, they're not given the support by their own people. They may start a business and their own people not buying from them. That kind of talk. I am not at no stage saying that we don't have many successful entrepreneurs. What I am pushing actually is that if we could move away from that type of thinking, and instead, if we feel so as individuals, do something about it. So if we feel they are not making it in their businesses that they open after about 3 years, it's closed, and we are saying it is because they are not being supported, they may not have the financial, etc. I am saying in moving forward in our journey that we as individuals should say, you know what, we can do something about it. We could support. And this goes for any of the negatives we are hearing in any areas. I am saying that we should take responsibility and say, you know what, I could make the difference there by moving, helping us to move forward as a Black tribe.
Now you're going to put me in trouble. Now you're going to make everybody say that Terrian is a two-faced black woman.
So, and you know
Because
one thing, and people who listen to us, you know, we tell our views and we open. And this is not by the way, and let me just reinforce. I'm talking about my view, you're talking about yours. We're not representing.
and I think our viewers know that.
Representing nobody.
I think our viewers know that, and I will say this about that. The rate of failure for entrepreneurs is high across the board. And
Great.
I would never, and anybody who have a small business, I'm a business consultant. And people who are my clients know that if you're doing stupidness, I tell you you're doing stupidness, and the first thing I do is fire a customer who is not giving good service and is not interested in doing it. And there is, I think a lot of the entrepreneurs that we see are falling out of business because they are bad at business, or they have gone into business and it is not properly structured. Now, if you are advocating that we give more grace to somebody who's running a business badly, or who is pricing outside of the market and they expect people to support them because you're a Black brother or Black sister, then I am not your customer. You may be their customer. But when I look at entrepreneurs, and businesses carry a high failure rate for entrepreneurship, and that is established. And I think one of the things that we need to understand is that I think one of the things that we don't have the get up and go again because we don't come from deep resources. I would state it like that. So you probably have lower ability, lower resilience, because you don't have the family financial backing and support and things like that. But there is a solution for something like that. You scale according to your means. And again, I would say, walk downtown Port of Spain, go into the malls, go into the small entrepreneurial malls and see how many Black businesses have been there for several years. I agree there is a talk. There's a talk about service people. There's a talk about this. There's a talk about that. And it's easy to get on for one interaction that's negative, or two or three, and you blast it and write it off. But again, I'm not saying that we're perfect, and I'm agreeing with you that there is that talk. But probably one of our issues is our propensity to listen to too much talk, as opposed to looking and seeing the success rate of somebody whose fruit stall is still around after 5 years. My fruit man, my fish man, my dressmaker, my plumber, my electrician. I've had people servicing me for we in this house for 36 years. And the same people are there, good service. So while yes, there is that conversation could be equally applied across all races. And my issue is too, and it is, I'm also sharing with you, debunking those myths, because it does not belong only to Afro entrepreneurs. It's across the board. And I will tell you, who is this at a thief? Who is characterized as thief? You know, it's another race. Who is characterized as corrupt? Who, every time they open a little restaurant or a little franchise, they blast and say they money laundering. If another group open a little grocery, they money laundering. We have a propensity to just not respect people's efforts. And when the people who choose to sit back look on other people as they're building, they're quick to, I see it as, you can't do it, so you're ponging somebody who could. And that side of the conversation I just refuse to listen to, because in this country, every race has a negative stereotype around them when they go into business. We look at one set, they're money laundering. All the money done wash, and now they're rich and they're big, but they wash the money. We know who they're talking about. We know who is the thief. And I think we have to, in the going forward, when we have our communications, we need to open our eyes as we walk through the malls and the towns, and we go and we look at plug into Instagram and look for a service provider for something, and look at the pictures, look at the things that our people are doing in the culinary world, the creative world, the world of entertainment, financial advisors. If we look at it, we will not see an absence of Afro faces. They are there. They are not there, perhaps they're not the majority, but then that can be traced back to something that I think is more critical and important, which is the underperformance in education, which is, I think, something that is more fundamental, that is a risk to us. But I think in fields of endeavor that we get into, we are being represented, and the individuals are being represented, and they're working. I think also one of the reasons that they probably are not working as well, and that is where I think we have an issue, is that we do not organize as a group. We love to organize as an individual. We don't like to act in a communal way, because we don't want to be subject to rules and regulations and controls, and everybody wants to do it their own way. But once a group gets together and decides to be entrepreneurial, let me look at the Promoters Association, look at Carnival, and don't tell me that one band that happened to be owned by a mix-up Trinidadian taking over Carnival. They're not taking over Carnival. Carnival have hundreds of bands going out. If you want to look at one or two bands and think they define Carnival, then the problem is with you and your perspective. And I'm talking to the audience here. But I think we have to begin not listening to gossip, because I cannot and will not accept that there is any lack of capacity in any field of endeavor that is targeted to Afro-Trinbagonians and Tobagonians because of their race. There would be other factors, and I think those are the factors that we have to look at.
Ariana, I must say this too. Because of your experience because of the field you were in, and you have the statistics and the facts to back up what you are saying. We are sharing this. I'm happy on this show that you're sharing it, so those who may have thought differently, hopefully you have enlightened them, so now they would think differently. But think in a more positive way, let me put it that way. But Terry-Ann, I am telling you, what you have said there is many, you know that, and you will share it with persons who you have your views because it's backed up by facts, etc. A lot of what is the gossip or the rhetoric from way back that passing on and on and on. I would say it again. It is because a lot of people listening now are saying fake news, but for them it is always like that. And I am agreeing. We need to change that, and the only way I could see we change the thinking and to support others to move forward in a more positive way is we have to get more of we have to get the message out there more. I don't find that message is being shared enough. This is my view. And that's why some of the thinking remains the same. Some of the talk recently here, actually yesterday and today, since we had, I was reading a release that was sent out, and the response to that release, and I'm talking about some of the people who I've seen respond to it, is persons who I see as educated, right? And some of the rhetoric still comes up in their responses. So I would say for me, I'm moving forward. I understand, I am clear, as I said, I understand what's happening. I am pointing out, of course, what I'm seeing as a negative. But my hope, as usual, is that if we move forward, and yes, but we have to have that belief as individual before we come together as a group. Because if you're in a group and most of the people in the group still thinking in a certain way, then we're not getting ahead, right? So yes, you touched on, you mentioned education, which I look at education. I was thinking actually that I remember in my time growing up, for children who they believe may not be that academically inclined, they had the different, like the technical schools and thing, and they could have gone and did a trade and did extremely well. After they did that trade, they were interns, and they go on and they had persons mentoring them, and they get jobs, whether it's as a tailor, hairdresser, etc., whatever. And they were able, to really make it on their own. But with time, that was like, again, that was happening. Somebody who said they want to become in any trade, they were kind of dismissed and they were encouraged not to do it. And I believe now we should really, again, and that is part of it. We are seeing it happening again with the younger persons, but let me talk here to my age group that we should not still think that way. And, those, whatever they, we find our younger ones, what field they want to go in, as long they're going to be working hard, and that is something they like to do to earn their living. I think that should be encouraged and not done in a way that we know it after and just push them along a certain way. So that's what I will have to say on terms of the education, not getting into to recommending how the education system should run, but for us to encourage persons to to look at the new areas that coming up that they can go into, because it's still hard. I still hear of my age group, if I may say it in a Trini way, looking down on certain trades.
The good thing about it, and I will say this myself, we have less ahead of us than behind us. And there is a great cohort coming for when we leave the stage with our backward thinking, who are absolutely not tolerating that nonsense because they understand that, and I'm talking about younger people, and this is one of the reasons that Connections 50 Plus is really sending the message to us. You see, and I go back again to my old bag. You see, all of us who still have the colonial bug and believe that the Governor General is in charge and the Queen is in charge. And we believe that the only education worth having is a good grammar school education, which is organized for the top 10%. So it means where's the 90%? And that if you want 20,000 children doing SEA, even if every one of them gets 100%, there are only about 5,000 prestige seats. So where the other 15,000 go in? It's just, we have to look at our expectations. And one of the things that I will say about education, I did not learn in school. I was taught methodologies and theories, and I talking from times table to alphabet.
Yeah.
And I went home, and on my mother kitchen table, sometimes with the assistance of a ruler, I had to learn my lessons. And at home, whether it was granny, sister, mother, father, or just the fear of when mommy come home and look in my book bag and see more X or red ink than tick or blue ink. She didn't have to know what it was, that I was accountable for that. Those are things that we choose. And to the extent that we allow that part of the narrative to dominate the discussion about us, it's on us. It is on us. And unfortunately, Jennifer, I know you follow Pat Bishop had a saying, unless all have crossed, none have crossed. And sometimes you have to go and pick up the ones who are there. I do not agree with that point of view. Those who want to stay on the other side and lahe cannot keep back those who can go ahead and prepare for better. And sometimes the ones who want to stay behind and lahe stay so long, they become burdensome. And sometimes by the time they reach, there's no space. And unfortunately, that happens in all groups. It happens in all groups. And the narrative may make it appear to happen more in our group. That may or may not be the case, but those issues are issues that of accountability and responsibility that we have to pay attention to. But it does not change the fact that we need to, when we hear these narratives, we need to pay attention to who is saying it and why they're saying it. Media sells crime. I think the most negative connotation about Afro-Trinbagonians is the issue, Trinbagonians, is the issue of crime. And for crime, we choose to look at the easily little banditry is what I will call it. The banditry, the ones that you could capture on a camera and things like that. And we look at one level of crime. But if the country knows, everyone knows that we are a criminal society. We criminally minded. We love to break laws. We love to if we get a chance to do a ratchet and a this and a that. Culturally, we love to do all that kind of nonsense. But unfortunately, the poor little boys from the ghetto always get catch on the cameras. That is something that we have to live with and we have to fix within our communities. And we have to be community minded. We can't be trying to have a nicer house than the neighbor and focusing on external things like that while you don't know what's going on with your kids. That's a stain, but it's something that we have to deal with. But I don't think it is something that I am allowing to mark my celebration of Emancipation Day. As I tell people, I have sons who have raised on the East-West corridor, and they have friends who are up and down in my house, and I have not encountered a bandit yet. Okay? Am I unique? Am I different? Perhaps I am, but I could count a whole lot of other people who are equally unique and different. And I think when we bring all of ourselves together, we're in a big enough group that we could call normal. So I'm not buying into the stereotype. I'm not. And by being in the world, doing what we do, and we encourage others to be stronger and to have faith and to revel in our blackness, our beauty, our capabilities and stuff like that. And I think that is just what it is, because for other groups to continue to appear stronger, they will put the narrative in their way. But if we don't tell our stories, then your story just won't appear. And then whatever stories appear, and it's a story that goes. But I don't read those storybooks. I don't read those storybooks. I go and look for the other storybooks and I read those books. So I agree with you, but it won't happen if there is no accountability and responsibility in our race. And I do not believe that we are not an accountable people. And I don't believe that we are an irresponsible people either. So.
Well, Karen, you said what you said there, in moving forward, as far as I see it, and what I would like to see more of.
You have to carry everybody over the river. Everybody. Jennifer stayed back to make sure everybody crossed. I go in. That's why we work well together.
Everybody, the majority. The majority. Yeah, we debunk all the rhetoric. We don't buy into all those negatives. I really feel in telling our stories. Oh gosh, let's focus. We know what is happening outside there. As you said, the focus is only on a bandit. All the pictures showing of the bandits.
That's somebody's story. Change your algorithm, plug in something else, and your algorithm will change, your story will change. But if we're looking at and look at it, there's sites that are let me come out of Trinidad now and give an example. If you look at what's going on in the Gaza with Israel and the Palestinians, let me tell you, depending on how you train that algorithm, both sides are God's children or they're the son of Satan. You know, we need to be very, very careful about the narratives that we continue to be entertained by, the stories we continue to be entertained by, and our failure when we see success in front of us, when we see Black success in front of us, our failure to talk about it, promote it, support it, especially when it is Black excellence, especially when it is Black excellence. And I am not supporting Black mediocrity. I will say that plainly. I will tell you what I think is about your business. I will tell you why I think it is wrong, and you'll understand why I'm not coming back. But excellence, genuine effort, and a good service or product, man, again, my money with spades.
Well, Terry, and you always support that, and you strive for excellence in whatever that you do. And as you said, we have I just love the idea of us, telling these stories, telling all the positive stories, tell more stories. To me, we're not telling enough.
Hello.
You
People, go and look at 6 years of Connections 50 plus and tell me we're not telling enough.
It's our role, as you say, our role is to tell the truth and come out. We're here, and you know what it is. Some people thinking and you sharing and you make sure, you give any facts. So who listen will say, yeah, even if we were thinking like this, I hope that if you're thinking a certain way and you get the facts, you say, oh, that's true, check
And if
it
you know
out.
that's your business, you will stay on the other side of the river in the mud and you won't progress. No group has progressed by focusing on the negative and not celebrating successes.
So we
None.
we really need to celebrate who we are as a people, and just move forward, keep moving forward, keep that vision of what you want to achieve, what you would like to see. And if we keep that vision going, we won't allow all the negatives and all the chatter and the gossip. There's a lot of gossip right now.
You can't stop it. They're making money, They're making money. So you cannot let it stop you.
As I'm telling you, this whole week, as they open the Emancipation Village, and of course, people submit more aware. Oh, let's look at so and so. And I am reading and listening to some of the talk shows and some of the stories being told. And yes, but I must admire Terrian. I am seeing a nice movement with our Black youths.
Definitely.
I'm not seeing the bandits. I'm seeing all the entrepreneurs and the creators.
Bandits are a minority.
and really making it. Definitely in the majority, not in the few that they are and saying, okay, they're creating all the numbers they have for the gangs.
That's something that with the right political will and with people in communities not tolerating nonsense, that will be dealt with. That does not define Afro-Trinidad. It is a group, and the police will deal with them. And when we talk emancipation, I red circle those and say, not you. And I move on. And I know there are people who will say, but Terry-Ann, how you could say that? How I could say that? Easy. Because there are so many others that are using their talents, they train themselves, and they, in a tight job market, the job market is tight all over the world, are coming up with some fantastic ways to earn their living, support their families, and they're raising the flag for us in all fields, And if people want to focus on, well, I mean, if your son or your cousin or your nana in the jail and in trouble or whatever it is, then I feel for you. Or if most of your children are in that place, I feel for you, but you have some repairing work to do. But I think for most of us, that is not the case. And there is so much to celebrate. So much to celebrate. I refuse to let those that minority spoil my emancipation celebration.
So, as I said, I believe in all the that we're moving forward in a positive way. I want to keep, pushing that. I am very, very proud of who I am. I'm proud of what we have achieved as Black people, as a Black community. I would always, I have that head and I'm not changing it. And Terry, and I really, I'm happy that you're able to really debunk the rhetoric by giving facts and sharing that experience that we know it is, but it's not being shared enough. So I see.
If Jennifer,
Oh,
if I'm to give the story you have to give the story of business in Trinidad, you have to give the story of crime in Trinidad, you have to give the story of any field of culture. You'll have to sit down. You cannot do it for one group. You have to talk about all the groups and how they have contributed positively and negatively. I'm not allowing that to be a discussion about Afro-Trinbagonians. It is wrong.
as I say that, this is just a little slight note. In growing up, more countryside, so they had more. Oh, the African men, all these black men are the corner and they only drinking, drinking, drinking. In those days, you're not talking about the marijuana. They're drinking the rum and they're drinking the punching and the, well, all the negatives on them. And I remember my father talking and I say, but nobody talking about all the Chinese who have this opium in those days was opium. Nobody talking about them,
They were talking
So,
about it. We weren't listening.
so I'm always was on, the majority of the black men out there. So they're in the majority and they get in the flack all the time. So yeah.
You see, if you were
So
living central and south, you would have known that the people by the rum shop were not black people. And
yeah.
you would go into all the narratives of, I mean, when we think about it, if as black people we want to hold on to those negative stereotypes and think we are the only people with the problem, then we have to check ourselves. We have to check ourselves. It's across the board. But there are positives that we need to. And the thing about it, Jennifer, is I don't think we are unaware of the positives. We are aware of them because we are supporting those businesses. We are supporting those tradespeople. We are supporting those artists, those creatives. But we just choose to look at one group and talk about those. That's why I say fix the algorithm. Start deliberately typing in something different. And don't look at Crime Alert TT and all those crazy pages. Don't look at the sensationalist social media players who just put in clickbait for you because they like to see bodies in the street and they like to see bacchanal. No, put something else in and change your algorithm and your story will change.
Let me recently too, I mean popping up a lot on the Facebook or on the my computer. There's a lot of these black black groups dancing. You know, all of them do not they have a modern one from the line dance, the one they're using fans and different things. And that is such a beautiful, that's our culture, to be happy and dance and sing and enjoy life. You know, we find time to do that and celebrate ourselves. So I'm just saying that because every time I see it, I say I should be in that group dancing and enjoying myself. I love to.
So I think we can round off this section and our tribe and really I celebrate all the time. To me, I don't have to go to the Emancipation Village to celebrate emancipation. Emancipation comes from my soul, my heart, and I am proud of our people and where we've been. And I recognize, like everyone, that there are challenges, and in every way that I can support, I do support. But those challenges don't define us. And I am not buying into media that wants to convince me that it does. And that is where I stand. Happy emancipation to everyone in Trinidad and Tobago, and especially my Afro brothers and sisters.
Listen, but let me say, I like to go to the village. I like to shop. I like to see. I like to see all that they have to offer and move around and just, I like the vibes. So for me, I like doing that every year. But I totally agree with you, Terry-Ann, that, hey, we change how we look at things and we just continue on this beautiful journey. I say a beautiful Black journey, a positive Black journey. I see so many positive things in the future, you know. So, again, I wish every single one of my Black families, my Black brothers and sisters in Trinidad and Tobago, happy, happy, happy emancipation. Have fun and stay safe. Yeah.
So, Jennifer, August is a really, really, really nice month because it starts with emancipation, it ends with independence. And people are asking connections. We normally have an emancipation event, but what's happening this year?
Well, emancipation, we do an independence. And that's because to this emancipation, Terry and I have been really caught up. And didn't have the time to really do a proper planning. So we thought, why not? It's August. Let's celebrate, continue the celebration. And we decided to have an independence story. That is what we're going to have. And that way, remember earlier I talked about the dancing and having fun? I just like going out and having fun, and we want to encourage every one of our tribe to come out, and that is on
Sunday the 24th.
just before we can be for the Sunday before independence. And we thought our theme, of course, is red, white, and black. So we encouraging you all to come out in your red, white, anyhow you want to mix it. That's fine because what? We are having our special guest, Richard Young, and everybody know Richard Young by now. But Richard has opened this beautiful, beautiful space called the Young Guild. That's at Shops of Marban. Let me tell you, Terry and I did a site visit. Oh gosh, it's beautiful. Really, really nice. So that's the venue for our event, our independence event on the 24th. Of course, in addition, it's not just that Richard will using his space, but Richard would be there curating. Let me tell you, we having a fantastic, a special type of I don't want to call it fashion show, display of fashions, but not just the show with some of his models, but we're gonna be part of it. It will be very interactive, and Richard will be doing several things with us, telling us about skincare, you know, how to move around in our beautiful outfits, etc., etc. So, Terry-Ann, I don't know if you want what else.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different type of experience. It's going to be a style experience. That is what I would like to call it. So we are at the Young Guild. Just come out in your theme of red, white, or black. Express your style in every way you want. So if you're still celebrating emancipation, come out in red, white, and black African way. If you're celebrating something else, come out in red, white, and black. And think of it as a lime. We are going to be having a very elevated tea. It will be a very nice, nice food box for you. But you have access to the guru of style and fashion, and we are going to be talking how we present our best selves at independence. And one thing we want you to do, when you see you put your kit together, create a narrative that explains what you have done, because that could win you some prizes. But
you did mention, you're the foodie, so you did mention a special box, right?
oh, we are going to have a wonderful, wonderful tea, and you all could go look at Simply CC's catering. It's going to be out of the world, out of this world and different. So you're going to be seeing more about that. But you know, what we stand for where food is concerned. You're going to go with your belly full and totally satisfied. But I think the experience of dressing to the nines with a purpose and coming with your story of why you've put on what you've put on and having fun with Richard, talking about our style and how we put forward our best selves, I think it's the best independence gift we can give to ourselves. So it's the 24th of August at the Young Guild. All of this, a price of $375. Very soon, you're going to be getting all the information of how. So get your posse together. We are going to have a wonderful time. And you are going to leave satisfied, entertained, educated, and learning how to do a pirouette or two while you strut down the road.
The time will be from 2 to 6.
I'm
Very
great. So we are out of time. So we want to again wish you all a very, very happy Emancipation. Celebrate with all our brothers and sisters, Afro-Trinbagonians, joining like how we do for the Bali Eid and everything else, join in and celebrate. But remember, this is our celebration. And change your algorithm.
Visit the village and have fun. Yeah.
So bye-bye.
50 Plus Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.